Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service. It is Monday, August 8, 2022, and we do this every evening thanks to a partnership with Alaska Public Media. And moving right into things, quite a bit to talk about. Our headlines here for the state of Alaska: a flood advisory remains in effect tonight into mid-morning Tuesday for the Mat-Su Valley. For as much as 2 to 4 inches of rain falling, especially in some of the higher elevations around there that are going to cause a number of the creeks and smaller rivers to experience some minor flooding. A wind advisory continues until early Tuesday morning for areas around Isabel Pass. Gusty south gap winds possible 40-50 miles an hour. Elevated surf will continue. High surf advisory is in effect for Norton Sound in the lower Yukon Delta through early Tuesday morning. And then in the Panhandle, things are drying out with a ridge of high pressure. Could be a little patchy fog in some areas down there tonight, but otherwise warmer temperatures. Ketchikan will see highs there in the south end, back up into the 70s here Tuesday and on Wednesday. Looking at some of the webcams from the FAA, Unalakleet showing showers, breezy conditions, 46 degrees. Again, that higher surf along the east and south side of Norton Sound, including the lower Yukon Delta, where we do have some winds gusting over 30 miles an hour out of the west. Isabel Pass having some gusty south winds with rain showers passing through there, 45 degrees. And then on through the areas of the Mat-Su Valley, Willow reporting light rain, 52, and some of the rain has been on the heavy side. Independence Mine in the upper portion of Hatcher Pass is reported as of about 2 o'clock this Monday afternoon, 3.6 inches of rainfall. So all that's going to run off and cause those, especially those smaller streams and rivers, to really see some significant risers that could impact the fishermen trying to get some salmon and trout fishing in. Ketchikan, though, look at that. It's mostly sunny skies. Temperature 64 on its way up into the upper 60s to near 70 today and into the 70s. For Tuesday, Wednesday will be the warmest day with mid-70s possible there across southern parts of the Panhandle. Here are the advisories. We have the wind advisory through 4 a.m. there in the east central Alaska range. And then we have the flood advisory for the area around Talkeetna, Willow, and then to the east, or west along the Norton Sound down into the lower Yukon Delta. We have a high surf advisory in effect until early this Tuesday morning. Looking at rainfall coming up here for Tuesday, the heaviest rain shifts from around the central eastern Alaska range down through the Copper River Basin and along the coastal mountains there from Cordova eastward. Another stream of moisture coming up through the North Pacific and Western Gulf will bring some additional rainfall there east of Cordova toward Yakutat for midweek on Wednesday. So those are the areas of the state that are going to see the wettest conditions for tomorrow and on Wednesday. It looks like the interior will have a chance to at least dry out a bit as we get through midweek. Of course, fire danger has been significantly dampened. This is great news. Pretty much low for the whole state. There's a couple of medium spots there showing up maybe near or just south of Eagle, and then a little smidgen there in the Yukon Flats. But this is good news, as what has been a very active fire season, it gives the current fire crews that are still out there a chance to get a bit of a break and to hopefully take care of the last of the significant fires. Satellite imagery shows a decent push of moisture coming up from the lower Bering up across southern parts of the state. That's why, and the rainfall being enhanced crossing the mountains. Off to the south, we have a warm front that's south of Dutch Harbor and Sand Point, and that's kind of the focus of the next surge of moisture that's going to be riding northeastward up along and just south of the Alaska Peninsula as we go through tomorrow into Wednesday, and that'll be taking aim toward areas like Cordova on over toward Yakutat here for later Tuesday into Wednesday. This afternoon, strong low pressure located, strong in the sense in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Surface low pressure not all that deep, but in the mid-levels we have a strong mid-level low with a cold core of air that's going to be tracking eastward across the interior. Cold front is helping to spread that moisture up along the Alaska range, producing some of the locally heavier rainfall through the Mat-Su Valley and Anchorage Bowl, as I mentioned. Even in Anchorage, some areas have seen over an inch of rainfall so far with this system. For tonight, we'll watch low pressure emerge out of the North Pacific, just south of the eastern Aleutians, with a warm front extending just south of the peninsula. And then for Tuesday, that low will be passing and riding just on the south side, the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. And there'll be some areas of moderate to heavy rain moving into the south side of Kodiak Island and up just east there of Prince William Sound. By Wednesday, the low slowly works its way northeastward down there near Sandpoint, Chicknick area, with a frontal system extending eastward with some moderate to locally heavier rain, again pointed toward Yakutat and areas just west of there. Otherwise, Wednesday will be a really warm day across the south end of the Panhandle. So lows relatively mild, upper 40s, lower 50s across much of south central and the Panhandle. Look at that, 72 at Ketchikan for Tuesday afternoon. A little cooler in the north where the clouds don't break out as much there in the northern Panhandle. And cooler temperatures, 50s to near 60 at best for south central. Wednesday morning, lows again, upper 40s to near 50 degrees, pretty common. And temperatures will be warmest. Could see a few low mid-70s in the far south end of the Panhandle. Otherwise, temperatures should moderate a bit back up around or a bit above 60 in through Anchorage Bowl. And then across the north, 30s and 40s, highs 40s generally speaking across Brooks Range, North Slope, near 50 Yukon River. Again, temperatures mid-30s to lower 40s for lows Wednesday morning, and then Wednesday afternoon we're looking for some 60-degree readings re-emerging there, mid and upper Yukon Valley. The interior of the southwest, near 40 degrees for lows. Tuesday afternoon, 50s generally speaking, Anvik, Bethel. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, lows again generally in the 40s with high temperatures. Wednesday afternoon can get back up in the lower 60s at Dillingham and King Salmon. Approaching 60, say, at Bethel, and a little cooler there. Imanak, 53 degrees, and as we go down across the Aleutians, look for lower mid-50s. So I wanted to show you the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook as we go into and just beyond mid-month. Temperatures should moderate back up a bit above normal across the southwest, centered on Bethel and Dillingham. A little below normal there, eastern Arctic coast. And as we get past mid-month and around the 20th, temperatures should moderate much across the south portion of the mainland and in through the Panhandle. So this stretch of cool and wet weather this week will give way to a little drier conditions and with a little milder temperatures. So at least the summer is not entirely over with yet. And we expect some drier conditions there in the southwest, the 14th through the 18th, maybe a little wetter there in the northeastern Gulf and northern Panhandle. And then as we get past mid-month up through about the 20th, 22nd, we'll see precipitation average a little above normal there in the southeast corner of the mainland and northern Panhandle, as well as in the northwest up around Nome toward Kotzebue and Point Lay. But otherwise, the rest of the state should be near normal.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Let's take a look at your aviation weather. If you have a flight planned Tuesday or into the day on Wednesday, we're watching as of this Monday afternoon. There's low pressure located around Norton Sound that's going to be tracking eastward on the south side of the Brooks Range. And it's going to gradually weaken as we go through midweek. The next low will be emerging from the northern Pacific and work its way up on the Pacific side northeastward along the Alaska Peninsula. So we expect Tuesday morning IFR conditions rather widespread around the Brooks Range, especially North Slope and up along the Arctic coast. Also pockets of IFR, northern Panhandle, down through the Copper River Basin, up into the central Alaska Range, and then extensive IFR conditions, especially out along the lower Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians. Tuesday afternoon, mainland areas should see some improvement to at least MVFR conditions that low again, beginning to break down and precipitation becoming scattered, more showery. Off to the south, though, we do anticipate IFR conditions from the southwestern Gulf to the North Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. And then as we go through Wednesday morning, we expect IFR conditions to be up there into the northeastern Gulf around Yakutat and into the northern Panhandle. There'll be a pretty good push of moisture into those areas with some locally moderate to heavy rainfall along the north, central, northeastern Gulf Coast. IFR also prevailing back through much of the day Wednesday, northern bearing around St. Lawrence Island and then off of the Arctic coast. But again, we do expect IFR conditions there across the northern Panhandle, northeastern Gulf, into much of the open waters of the Gulf. Anaktuvuk Pass on Tuesday will see IFR conditions early in the day become MVFR. Attican Pass, same thing, IFR. In the morning becoming MVFR. Lake Clark and Merrill should generally see MVFR conditions there in the western arm of the Alaska Range. And as we round north, Rainy Pass, we'll see MVFR conditions. Windy could see IFR conditions, especially down through the south entrance in Talkeetna area, IFR, before becoming MVFR. Isabel will generally see MVFR conditions on Tuesday, though IFR conditions could kind of hold to the west and southwest of the pass, at least through the morning. And Metasta Pass should generally have MVFR conditions on Tuesday. Tanita Pass starting out IFR, becoming MVFR. And then Portage Pass, it's kind of a split again where we have MVFR conditions, the western half of the pass. Eastern half, including Prince William Sound, start out with IFR conditions in the morning, giving way to MVFR conditions. And then finally, Chilkoot and White in the northern Panhandle should generally see IFR conditions Tuesday morning, becoming MVFR. And freezing levels have come down across the mainland, especially in through the interior at or below 4,000 feet, yet generally above 3,000 feet. And they still remain up around 10,000 feet from the north end of the Panhandle across the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. And the greatest threat for icing on Tuesday will be in association with the moisture stream coming up out of the North Pacific, riding along and south of the Alaska Peninsula to around Kodiak Island. And generally, though, because of the higher freezing levels aloft, we don't anticipate icing until you get above 12,000 feet. For the interior, along the Yukon River, generally above 5,000 feet, and then areas of south central, especially down toward Prince William Sound, the intercoastal mountains there, above 8,000 feet. Jet stream level winds are strongest at 30,000 feet. We have 125 southwesterly knot wind max there over the southeastern quarter of the mainland, and another 95 knot southwesterly wind max creeping up into the tip there of the Alaska Peninsula. Backside northeast winds across the northwest portion of the state, 75 to 90 knots. And then coming down to 700 millibars, the primary low circulation is there down toward the end there of the Alaska Peninsula, out over the North Pacific, riding up through the west side of the Gulf. We anticipate winds of 55 to as high as 65 knots from the southwest, and then bringing it down to 3,000 feet, which is just a bit below 850 millibars. We see the low pressure circulation there on the North Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, with a broad area of 40 to 50 knot winds extending from the western Gulf back again south of the Alaska Peninsula, and those are out of the southwest. And if we take a look at where there may be some turbulence, a broad area of moderate turbulence out over the western Gulf and into the North Pacific, surface to 6,000 feet. An area of surface to 3,000 foot turbulence, central Aleutians, and then the interior around the middle upper Yukon Valley. We anticipate some considerable moderate turbulence from the surface to 4,000 feet.
Ahoy, Cadets, and welcome to the Okeanos Explorer. I'm Debbie, and I'm an ocean explorer. I work for NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Together with many other people, I work on this ship and we explore the deep sea. How do we do that? Let's go find out.
Octonauts, let's do this. Yow!
The pressure in the ocean is so great humans can't go there, so we send a special robot. Octocadets, meet Deep Discoverer, our special robot for ocean exploration. And this is Chris. He works with Deep Discoverer. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Debbie.
Can you tell us about what Deep Discoverer does?
Sure. So this is Deep Discover, and today we're going to take Deep Discover up to 4 miles down to the ocean floor so you can see what Deep Discoverer sees.
And how do we do that?
We do that by using these powerful cameras and powerful lights.
That's neat. And what is that?
And this is our manipulator arm, and we use this arm to take biological and geological samples that we store up front in these boxes, and so that we can bring them to the surface so scientists can analyze them.
Wow, isn't that cool, Octocadets? Wow! Now that we know more about the special robot that explores the seafloor, let's find out more about the ship. Octocadets, let's do this. Now let's find out what we do with D2's video. Come along. This is the control room. A lot of things about D2 happen in here. Behind me you see the pilots. They steer D2 on the seafloor. And over here we have scientists. Hi, Steve and Stacy.
Hi, this is Steve and I'm Stacy and we are marine biologists.
Can you tell us about the work you do here?
We actually look at the videos collected by the robots and we try to identify organisms along with other scientists on the shore.
What are you looking at right now?
We're actually looking at a sea star.
That's so awesome, thank you. Now let's look at how we make maps of the seafloor.
Excellent, Quasi. A good map helps you to get to places you've never been.
We also have a scientist on board who makes maps of the seafloor. Hi, Derek.
Hi, Debbie.
Can you tell us about your work?
Sure. My job on the ship is to make maps of the ocean floor. We do this by sending sound from the bottom of the ship. It echoes off the seafloor and comes back to the ship. And then from that, we can make maps like this. So this is what it would look like if you were able to drain the water out of the ocean and actually see what the landscape looked like down there. We use these maps to give the vehicles a place to dive, and they explore further, just like Octonauts do.
Status report, Dashi.
We're right on course, Captain.
So earlier we learned that D2 picks things up from the seafloor with his manipulator arm. Let's find out what we do with those samples. This is the wet lab, and Megan spends a lot of time here. Megan, can you tell us about your work?
I am the sample data manager, so when the ROV comes up, we go out and we collect the samples from the ROV and we bring them in here. And we try to record as much information about them as possible, everything from the details about what they look like to the environment conditions where they were found. How cold was it, for example? Then we come in and we take imagery using this microscope, and we take pictures using this camera as well. And then after we get all the pictures taken and we're ready, we prepare them for shipping to other scientists and museums so more science can be done, such as the squat lobster, this cup coral as well.
And what is that?
This is a piece of coral, or several pieces of coral, that we think might actually be a new species. So we are going to send it out for a comparison to existing species to see if we discovered something new.
Wow, you have a really cool job.
Thank you.
Fascinating. I've read about this, but I've never actually seen it.
An important part of how we explore the ocean is keeping in touch with scientists and Octocadets on shore. Let's go see how we do that. Rosemary, could you tell the Octocadets a little about what that dish does?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Rosemary Abbott. I'm the operations officer aboard the Okeanos Explorer, and that is our VSAT. It stands for Very Small Aperture Terminal, and inside that satellite dome is a very powerful dish antenna that allows us to communicate with shore and share video in real time. The technology is called telepresence.
Wow, that is so interesting. Thank you, Rosemary. Now I'm getting really hungry. Let's go to the kitchen and talk about food. This is the ship's kitchen, also known as the galley. And this is Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Debbie.
Michael is the chief steward on this ship, and he keeps 49 people fed for 3 weeks at a time. Michael, how do you do that?
With a lot of care and with the help of 3 crew members. I have myself, the chief steward, a chief cook, and a second cook. And we just do it with a lot of love and care and make sure that everybody's happy and well fed. We use up to 150 dozen eggs per trip, up to 100 gallons of milk, a lot of veggies and fruits, a lot of snacks. Everybody's very pleased with what we usually put out. We also make sure that we do it in a loving way, in a sanitary way, in a safe way that keeps everybody from getting any tummy aches.
I'm about to enter the ship's bridge. It's like the Octopod's headquarters.
Octonauts to the HQ.
Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy, Debbie.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Octocadets, meet Eric Johnson, the commander of the ship. Eric, can you tell us about what you do up here?
Absolutely. Hello, Octocadets. My name's Eric Johnson. I'm an Corps officer, and I'm the captain of the Okeanos Explorer. Welcome to my office. This is where we drive the ship. This is where we control the operations. We run the propellers that are underneath us in the back to the wheel up here at the front, which is where we steer. It's a pretty cool job. It's very exciting, and it's pretty beautiful around here as well.
So, Octocadets, now you know a little bit about the ship and how we explore the deep sea. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I'll see you next time.
Debbie, safety first.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back, and let's start out by looking at the sea ice edge before we get into the marine forecast. And we continue to have some areas of remnant ice along the Arctic coast there. Just going to slowly melt off as we go through later summer. And along the Russian coast, we've finally seen some of that ice break away a bit, and it's not quite as extensive as it was here last week. Overall, though, the cooler temperatures have slowed the melt there across the Arctic region, so things will continue to be a slow progress here as we go through late summer. Across the southeast panhandle, winds will be variable in the vicinity of Petersburg, waves running there only 2-3 feet, but winds northwest 20 knots there, Ketchikan, Metlakatla, with waves 3 to 4 feet. And then south winds up Lynn Canal, 3 to 4 foot waves. Along the outer Gulf Coast, northwest winds Sitka southward 20 knots, waves 5 to 6 feet, and southwest winds coming in there toward Yakutat at around 10 knots with waves of 4 to 5 feet. For Wednesday, winds will be variable across Lynn Canal, only 5-10 knots tops. Northwesterly, though, coming down there toward Ketchikan and Metlakatla with waves of 3 to 4 feet. And winds will be northwest to north, south of Sitka, off of Craig at 20 to 25 knots, waves 7 to 8 feet. Generally southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, Sitka on up toward Yakutat with waves of 6 to 8 feet. Across the northwestern Gulf and Cook Inlet, winds on Tuesday will be generally out of the southwest to west at 15 to 20 knots across the length of Cook Inlet with waves 3 to 5 feet. South winds 10 knots, Prince William Sound, waves there a couple of feet, and then southwest winds 15 knots and waves 5 to 6 feet off of the Kenai Peninsula. On Wednesday, with the frontal system off to the south there along the Kenai Peninsula into the northwestern Gulf, we expect northeast winds 15 knots, Prince William Sound, waves 2 to 3 feet. Otherwise, north to northeast winds riding down the length of Cook Inlet, and waves anywhere from 5 to as high as 8 feet toward the entrance of Cook Inlet. For Kodiak Island, winds will be southwest 15 to 25 knots, waves at 4 feet, Shelikof Strait, 7 to 8 feet, with southerly winds on the warmer side of that frontal system there across the North Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, but they'll turn around to the northeast 15 to 25 knots with waves 3 to 5 feet from Bristol Bay to north of Cold Bay. And on Wednesday, look for northeasterly winds 25 knots through Shelikof Strait, waves 7 feet, Winds will be around low pressure will be turning back toward the northwest across the lower portion of the Alaska Peninsula at 25 to 30 knots with waves of 7 to 8 feet. And then across the Aleutian chain on Tuesday, winds will generally be out of the northeast, 25 knots. North Pacific side, waves 5 to 6 feet, and waves of 6 to 7 feet on the Bering side. Center of high pressure will be located Wednesday just north of the central Aleutians. So overall, we see northwest winds turning northerly through the eastern Aleutians around 20 to 25 knots, and then eventually northeasterly to easterly as we go from Atka and Adak westward. Waves will generally be 5 to 6 feet on the Bering side and 6 to 7 feet on the North Pacific side. Across the west coast and the southwest, winds will be out of the northeast south of Nunavik Island with waves of 4 feet. Norton Sound, northwest winds 20 knots, turning westerly there west of Imanak and Hooper Bay with waves of 4 to 5 feet. For Wednesday, winds will generally be out of the west to southwest, north of and west of Nunavik Island, and waves 4 feet within Norton Sound, 6 to 8 feet in the open waters west of Nunavik Island, and then northwest to west winds 20 to 25 knots, especially from Kuskokwim Bay back towards St. Paul and St. George. Across the Arctic region, going up through the Bering Strait and the lower Chukchi Sea, winds will be westerly 15 to 20 knots, waves 3 to 5 feet, and along the Arctic coast, west winds 15 to 20 knots, waves generally 3 to 4 feet, Utqiagvik eastward. And then on Wednesday, winds will be west-southwest 20 to 25 knots, Bering Strait, lower Chukchi Sea with waves of 5 to 6 feet, and then look for winds to be generally out of the southwest to west 15 to 20 knots, and waves running 3 to as high as 5 feet along the Arctic coast extending toward Kaktovik. And here is the low on Tuesday, just on the south side of the Alaska Peninsula, with a warm front riding up toward just off the Kenai with moderate to locally heavier rainfall occurring along that, and the low will slowly work its way up along the Alaska Peninsula as we go through the day on Wednesday. So thank you for watching.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.